This does look really cool, but sound really sells the effect. Nice. So here's my breadboard all set up. This is going to show all of the lights that I'm going to run on the actual night itself. So I have an Arduino, I have the LED driver, and I have the motor driver. This will run my motor and all of my LEDs so I can figure out timing for the sound. I've also decided to run these nights as having swappable weapons so I can swap between the battle cannon and the thermal lance. So because of that, I need to run 2 different sequences and 2 different sounds to put on the board so that I can run each different sequence that'll match up with each different sound. I've taken a piece of paper and put it over the breadboard so I can see each individual LED a little bit better, as well as a little less harsh on my eyes while I'm trying to align them to the sounds. I've also put a little piece of tape on the motor shaft so I know when it's spinning and when it's not, so I can align that as well. I have a bunch of sounds I've created over the years, and this is the one that I've chosen for the thermal cannon. At this point, it's just a matter of pressing the play button and the Arduino button at the same time to see how they line up. So I'm going to have the thermal cannon shooting twice, so the first one seems to be aligning pretty well, but the next one I have to kind of tweak. Top light here is for the Gatling cannon, the flashing one there is for the heavy stubber, and then the 2 pink lights are for the thermal cannon. And after a couple of hours of dicking around, I came up with this. Now the Crusader's sound is done for the thermal cannon, I need to get a sound for the battle cannon. For the battle cannon, I've layered a sound that I've already made with this howitzer sound that has a nice little echo at the end. I've used a blue LED for the coaxial heavy stubber so I can differentiate between the 2 different heavy stubbers. So when we put it all together and the sounds are all lined up, we get this. Now we have the sound that we want. How do I actually get it onto the board? Well, the first thing you're going to need to do is actually export it. So you go to File, Export, and then I'm going to use a WAV file. You could do an OGG as well, but I just normally do WAV file because that's what a lot of the files I get start out as anyway. Now the key thing here is to name it the trigger that you want it. So if I look under the Crusader folder here, I already have the T01 trigger, so I'm going to name this T02 because that's going to be the second pin trigger. You can go all the way from T00 to T10 and get 11 total triggers if you have enough space on the board. Most of the boards that I have are 2 megabytes, but you can also buy them in 16 megabyte variants. Now, when you actually go to export it, you're going to get all of this extra data that Audacity wants to save for you. I normally don't do anything with this. A lot of these are set as a 10 gauge shotgun because whatever sound I started with for whichever one of these was a 10 gauge shotgun, and it's kind of stayed forever. So let's get this soundboard set up. I'm going to go ahead and solder in here a little JST connector that I can connect to the speaker. The speaker, I'll leave a link in the description. This comes from Adafruit. I really like them. I typically cut off the JST and actually solder them in the end. But it's really nice to have like a tester board sitting around so you can test some of your sounds. And once I've figured out how to plug this USB in, we can actually put sounds on the board. Getting your sounds onto the Adafruit soundboard is a super simple process. All you have to do is find the files that you want to put on there that have the correct trigger name as the file name, open up your Adafruit board, it plugs in just like a USB drive, and then drag over the sound that you want and drop it in. Once that's downloaded, you're totally ready to go and you have a sound on there. Again, the file name will tell you which pin will actually trigger the sound. You can go, again, anywhere between T00 to T10. So let's put it all together and see how it works. I just need to take this little wire here and connect it to ground to trigger it. The sound is a little bit thin and tinny right now, but when I put it in the base or put a sound box around it, it actually gets a lot better. And when we put it all together, I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my patrons, and specifically Axel and Dominic. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll do my best to help you guys out. And I've actually taken these guys to a tournament now, and I went 2-1, so not too bad. Actually learning how to play these knights a little bit better now. Still have a few more videos on these knights to come, so stay tuned for those, and thanks for watching.